Hello, my darling viewers, and welcome back. For those of you who are new here, my name is Miranda, and I'm the Enchantress of Avalon. For this week's video, I've decided to talk about a subject which I've discussed a lot before, but I haven't really done a video about viewing these two figures in a more complementary light. I've usually talked on the channel about their rivalry, although I have talked about their complementary nature on my blog, and I will link blog posts down in the description box below. Those two figures are, of course, Morgan Le Fay and Guinevere of the Arthurian legends, and anyone that knows me knows that these are two figures I'm absolutely obsessed with, and down to the fact that I would choose Enchantress of Avalon as my title, and that I would have my blog titled White Rose of Avalon. All of this Avalon stuff, it links you directly to Morgan Le Fay and her energy, right? And her goddess nature. But it also links us to Guinevere. Guinevere is often not really thought of as Avalonian as much because she was so Christianized in especially later versions of the myths and legends of the Arthurian canon, but also specifically she was seen as like very Christianized in Marion Zimmer Bradley's Mists of Avalon, which fantastic book, horrible person. I'm not getting into Marion Zimmer Bradley. That's a totally different discussion, but I think she's an exemplar of how you can love the art but hate the artist as a person, because she was an atrocious person. But that's off topic. In any case, in the Mists of Avalon, she showed Guinevere to be this really ideal Christian queen, where Morgan was this fairy, witchy enchantress and priestess of the old religion. And she did this to separate them more so, but they were already pretty separated. Today's about looking at them as unified. So, as it's a very Guinevere time of year, it is Beltane. This is very much kind of like the epitome of this energy of fertility, sexuality, abundance, fiery passion, romance. It is all of these things. And these are all things we do associate with Guinevere. And she was associated with Beltane and with this whole seasonal light energy well into the medieval period. We often see references in different legends of her going a-maying, which is, of course, to pick flowers on May Day morning, Beltane morning. So that's amazing. And actually, in the musical Camelot, well, the film version, I've never actually had the chance to see the original musical, which does include Morgan. They cut her out of the film, which is, well, that sucks. But in that version, though, there is a scene of her doing just that, picking flowers with her handmaidens, and it's very much that link back to her as this very fertile sovereignty goddess figure. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have Samhain. Samhain is literally 6 months from Beltane. They are linked in that, as they are literally the opposing points in the year. And that also means that they're both the points of the year when the veil between the different realms is thinnest. Although with Samhain, we usually feel it as more of the ghostly realms, underworld energy, whereas with Beltane, it's more so dipping into the fairy realm, so you can more easily accidentally get caught in the fairy realm. Whereas in Samhain, it's the souls of the dead able to come through the veil into this world. So the same yet different. A lot of people experience it this way. Although I think the Fae are very active at both times. Personal experience. Anyway. So why do I mention Samhain and Beltane and how they're connected when I'm talking about this? Well, I already said Guinevere is very much a Beltane sovereignty goddess. Morgan is very much a Samhain goddess. Her power really begins at the autumnal equinox. As Guinevere's can be seen as beginning at the vernal equinox as well. And that whole season, these like witchy seasons, magical seasons, have those energies between the two. But Beltane season really carries on into the midsummer solstice, as does the Samhain energy really carries on into Yule or midwinter solstice. So if we see Morgan as that kind of other counterbalance point of she is the darker side of things, she's still sexuality, but she's that deeper, darker sexuality, the allure of maybe some taboo things. And she's also, very importantly, a great energy to help you deal with any hangups you may have about sexuality. The repression of Western society. Yes, we are still sexually repressed, especially in the US where I live. It's this weirdly puritanical society, even though we're supposed to be free. Not really. And but Morgan's great to help you bring that up and deal with that. Whatever shame you might have about your body, shame about sexual desires, it's Morgan who can help you deal with that. And then Guinevere is about just really embracing this and being willing to go against the societal norms and just say, you know what, I love this person. As Guinevere famously does by choosing to take a lover in the different versions of the legends. She pretty much always takes a lover, not always Lancelot, although Lancelot's most famous. And I kind of see any of her earlier lovers as just early cognates to Lancelot, and Lancelot was really fleshed out as this is the figure. And I do want to note that because of having this connection between Beltane and Samhain, we also have a connection in the month of May between that Taurus energy, or, well, I should say month of May. It's a lot of May, and then a lot of October is Scorpio energy. And because of this, the full moon in May is the full moon in Scorpio, because Taurus is the main energy. Scorpio opposes it, and therefore it's the full moon in Scorpio. And that means that it's a great full moon to deal with all of these issues of repression of your sexuality as you're still within this Beltane energy, really rife with Beltane energy. And if people are celebrating Beltane on a lunar scale, they very likely will be celebrating it on the full moon in Scorpio. So there's that direct link there. And then it would also be the opposite. The new moon in Scorpio would be the full moon in Taurus, just like the new moon in Taurus is the full moon in Scorpio, because they're linked within the lunar cycle because of the way the wheel of those constellations works when we're looking at the astrological wheel. It's an interesting link, and obviously whereas Morgan is very much that watery Scorpio energy of going within, an underworld goddess energy, very much within that realm, Guinevere is very much within that more Tauran realm. It's pleasure and procreation and fun, and also very, again, fertile. I keep using that word, but the fertility of the lands, the fertility of nature, the fertility of your own creative spark, and of course the fertility of the body are all really important this time of year, and they're very associated with that Earth Mother energy in Taurus. And also, we can see that Earth Mother energy in any other zodiac sign that is an Earth sign. I am, for instance, a Virgo, a moon and sun, but I'm also a Leo rising, which makes a lot of sense once I actually dug into that. But anyway, the Virgo energy is, yes, more perfectionistic, but still very earthy energy. It's that grounded energy of Earth Mother. And that's Guinevere. She's the divine feminine in very much this physical realm. She is the Empress in the tarot. She is the Queen of Pentacles in the tarot, or even the Queen of Wands with the fiery passion stuff. Morgan, though, she is the more ephemeral spiritual side of the divine feminine. She is the High Priestess in the tarot. She is the Queen of Cups in the tarot with those emotional realms. And even the Queen of Swords with that exacting and steely nature. She has that aspect to her as well. So we see them. They are balancing each other. Just as all of those energies balance, so does Guinevere and Morgan. And then there is, in the amazing Mist of Avalon Oracle deck, there was this blurb within the Guinevere section, talking about the Guinevere card, of different gifts of Guinevere's energy. She gifts us with these things. And I found it really fascinating because, first of all, it was 7 gifts, which links to her as a fairy queen. And the Mist of Avalon Oracle, differing from the book, has Guinevere as very much a Avalonian figure and very much as a fairy figure. And okay, so she has 7 gifts. They are beauty, confidence, passion, love, independence, feminine power, and sexuality. Now, doesn't that seem to cross over a whole hell of a lot with Morgan's energy? And I actually, when I wrote about those gifts of Guinevere, I also collected my own gifts of Morgan. I chose 9 because it's the most Avalonian of all numbers. And I did have a bunch of crossover. And I did those as back-to-back blog posts 2 days in a row. And I'm going to just list off the gifts that I said Morgan would gift us, which is magic, fairy nature, enchantment, healing, necromancy, confidence, independence, sexuality, and feminine power. As I just said back to back, you'll see that confidence, independence, sexuality, and feminine power are listed in both, right? Because the other 5 gifts that I said Morgan gifts to us, having that intimate relationship with her energy, those are ones that I felt were true. That was new. But the other ones, I was inspired by that initial list of Guinevere gifts. And I can't say that there's any difference between gaining confidence, gaining independence, gaining sexuality, and gaining feminine power from both. The flavor is going to be different. Certainly, the confidence of Guinevere is confidence to just embrace your own sovereignty, especially in romantic love. Whereas for Morgan, it's about just being confident to stand as your own person, independent of anyone else. The independence is Guinevere, it's again linked to romance. Whereas Morgan, it's I will do whatever I want whenever I want kind of thing. And the sexuality, I've already gone over how both Beltane and Samhain energies, Guinevere and Morgan energies, are very sexual energies. But again, there's this difference between that whole like misty border of life and death and sex and death with that underworld energy that Morgan has. And the just burgeoning spring and summer and just abundant, fertile energy of Guinevere. And the feminine power, they both use feminine power in sometimes very similar ways. Manipulating men with sex, they both did that in the legends a lot. So this is feminine power, though. Feminine power is sometimes the power to be able to manipulate males. It is what it is. And then the final thing I want to mention is that in the Vulgate cycles, both are shown to possess magical abilities because Guinevere does have magic in the Vulgate cycle version of the legends. So I've just spent 15 minutes telling you all about these energies and how they link. I hope that you have really enjoyed this, and I will link blog posts in the description box below. Please do like, comment, and subscribe. Have a wonderful day and an awesome week. Bye now.